I think the reasoning was for the egregious misses. You know, the full balls in the zone, the full ball out of the zone, like, you know, 2 balls off the plate, not for these like nitpicky, like barely clipping it or barely missing it.
Who's the most intense on the mound? I know we talk about George, I know we talk about Walter and Logan, but sometimes you can't see that intensity. Sometimes it's inside. You guys are right there with them. Who would you say is the most intense on the mound?
The more I've gotten to work with him, I think Woo's up there. Brian Woo has a certain intensity to him where it's like he gets very worked up and it looks very calm, but like you got to slow his heart rate down a little bit. George obviously has that anger about him, which we love, and I love when George gets a little pissed off, and that almost feeds his fire a little bit. So I always appreciate that. Most of our guys have done a pretty good job.
Anybody
chilling
else?
Out.
I don't know. I mean, I think he hit a good one. Like, Woo doesn't get a lot of, you know, like, it doesn't seem like he gets, you know, intense, but he's pretty intense out there, and yeah, he's pretty locked in, you know. I say all our guys have a certain level of intensity. It's different, obviously, on the scale of which one's higher and lower, but, you know, each guy's a little different, takes a little different, so, you know, it's hard to say, I guess.
Okay, a fun one. At some point this season, Cal, I don't think I've told you this, but we're going to get you, and it could be Mitch too, and I'm going to have you pick dodgeball teams. Which pitcher would each of you take first on your dodgeball team?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. That's crazy. Maybe.
Let's do this. You can have all the pitchers, and I'll take all the position players.
I don't know if I want that.
I like that idea. I think the position players are going to be able to handle that a little better than the pitchers. Because then they got to do the arm care, and they got to throw the weighted balls, and I'm like, nah, come here. Like, I got Dom and Luke Raley and JP. Like, let's just grab the ball and rip it at somebody.
Yeah, he might be right. I mean, guys, you know, as far as like that throwing of a dodgeball, it's a little more infield-like and outfield-like. You got to have quick feet and stuff. So
Logan would be looking at like the spin rate of the ball and like trying to throw a slider with a dodgeball. Like, nobody wants that.
Most of our guys would probably try to spin it.
They're going to try to spin it.
Brash would throw a sweeper with a dodgeball.
I need like a good four-seam coming across. Like, give me Leo Rivas, little Papa Bear.
Papa Bear.
He's never going to hit him with a dodgeball.
Yeah,
he's a tiny target.
Too small.
I can confirm.
That's a good point.
Papa Bear.
He's got a good point.
First overall.
You get Leo?
Yeah, give it to me.
1A. Okay.
Yeah, 1A.
You can't have Leo. Mitch just took Leo.
I guess if I had to take a picture, then I'd probably take George.
Yeah, George could play some dodgeball.
George could probably play dodgeball. He's got good feet. He's an athlete out there.
Exactly.
He could probably pinpoint the ball too where he wanted to.
That's when you want him to absolutely do that. All right.
So
I'll just keep that in mind. Mitch, you can come back for the full draft if you want to do that someday. We'll go ahead and invite you. Hey, ABS right now, what are you learning about the strike zone, both as a hitter and as a catcher?
You know, the strike zone, it feels bigger than what it should be. I have a personal thought. I don't think a ball that touches the plate by this much should be a strike if we're going to go off the plate. And I also think that the corners should be rounded, like the top outside corner should be rounded, and then the bottom corner should be oval as well. I'm not fully in on it right now, but I do know that I'm not the best receiver, and I've clanked some balls like across my body or up here that like usually are called strikes because it's in the strike zone, but I don't get points for getting called strikes. So I got dinged enough that I know, you know, that should probably be a strike. I'm going to go ahead and challenge that one, or this one down here.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and challenge that one. So
you got that area covered.
I go off misses.
Cal?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. I mean, kind of like what he said, like balls that are barely clipping by this much, you know, when guys are missing their spot, you know, I feel like it shouldn't be a strike, you know, when most 99% of the ball is outside the zone. And you know, I mean, the reasoning was for the fans and more engagement, and But I do agree, like the zone does feel bigger, especially than it did last year. Last year when they started changing the strike zone and telling umpires to, they got to hone in on their misses, then that really clamped up a lot of umpires. And so that was kind of a weird situation last year. But, so far, there's some games where you see more and there's some games where you see less. Like yesterday, I don't even think there was a challenge used. And, sometimes I think the reasoning was for the egregious misses. Mm-hmm. The full balls in the zone, the full ball out of the zone, 2 balls off the plate, not for these nitpicky, barely clipping it or barely missing it. I think that to me seems a little tedious, but kind of like what he was saying. But for the egregious misses, I think it's a good thing.
Are you feeling any advantage with that, or anything that you can take advantage of as a catcher with what the strike zone looks like right now, or at the plate when you're at the plate? Is your strike zone the same when you're at the plate? Is your strike zone the same?
It changes when the other team loses their challenge. You feel more comfortable. You just have to hit what's over the plate. You don't feel like there's a need to go chasing anywhere because you're not going to get a strike called on you outside of the zone. You have that protection. So it changes a little bit. There's a slight amount of strategy involved in when you use your challenges and how you use them. I think our message to our team has just been, let's just be more aggressive. Be more aggressive. If you really feel like a strike or a ball is called a strike, or vice versa, let's be aggressive and let's just use them, because at the end of the day, you can't take them with you, and it just becomes a regular baseball game when they're gone.
Right. And you're right there with it.
Yeah, well, that was pretty well said. So, yeah, I think guys, guys at first were a little timid into using them, and I think over the course of the season, getting a little more comfortable with it, I think guys are starting to be a little more confident with all right, use one, or finding a situation where it's kind of important. I had one the other day against the Rangers. It was first and second, nobody out. And it was 3-2 pitch, and I thought it was kind of close. I feel like that was a good time to use it. Obviously, it was a ball. I didn't get it right, but I feel like that was maybe a time where it was important. That would have been an important out at the time. So, yeah.
Had some big ones, too. It goes both ways.
Right.
Just got a couple more minutes here. Cal, Mitch, you're kind of understated. You're kind of quiet.
Oh, thank you.
To us, that's what we see, just a little bit.
You believe that?
Tell us something we don't know about him.
He's not very quiet.
Okay, all right.
No, let's see. What do people not? Mitch is quite the. He can be quite sarcastic sometimes.
You don't say.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
A little sarcastic and a little, sneaky, kind of like The Office, kind of funny. I don't know if people watch that show, but he has that kind of humor.
It's dry humor.
Dry humor.
Yeah.
Right there.
My wife tells me that I need to be more outgoing and nice and friendly, because people don't know if I'm being mean to them or not. So they'll be like, does that guy hate me or something? It's no, that's just who I am. You just got to learn me a little bit. Oh. It's not too bad though, right?
No, after you get to know him, you start to appreciate it, and it's the same every day. I will say that. It's we talk a lot about consistency, and it's the same every day. It's a lot of sarcasm, it's a lot of humor, it's a lot of funny jokes. So it's a good time.
Now you got to throw him a curveball. You got to come in just crazy someday.
We'll know something's wrong.
Doesn't fit me.
Now, Mitch, do you still? I know you can cook a little bit. I heard somebody talking about the lasagna the other day. I thought you put that away for a while.
I can cook a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
It's not great, but it's good.
This one over here, you know what I don't know if the hobby is still yours. I know it was a year ago. You don't always have the time for it. You know what his specialty is?
I don't.
What's my specialty?
Sourdough?
I do make sourdough. Yep.
You have not brought it in.
I'm a homesteader. I got a nice little property at home. The plan is to make my own sourdough and have some chickens.
I didn't know he made. I do got room. I didn't know he made sourdough.
I got a sourdough.
I love sourdough.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
I got a sourdough starter at home. Well, it's actually in Colorado still.
Okay.
So, dormant.
Dormant.
Yeah.
It's asleep right now.
It'll sleep, but she'll come back to life.
If Cal wanted to learn how to make sourdough, would you share some of that starter with him?
I would love to see Cal make sourdough. It's
I don't know,
tedious.
I don't know
brother.
the
It's
patience.
tedious. It's, you got to get the ratios right. You got to have the temperature right. You got to do your stretch and folds every 30 minutes.
Stretch and folds.
Not an easy game.
All right.
I feel like it'd just be easier just to buy the sourdough.
Well, yes.
Is it that much better if you make it homemade? I
Way
don't know.
better.
Oh,
Way better. Plus, it's only got 3 ingredients in it. You don't got to worry about anything else.
Okay.
you gonna be thinking about that?
I didn't think
behind
about
the
that.
plate? Yeah. Okay.
Sourdough?
Yeah.
I do love sourdough. I love bread. I love bread. Bread and butter is just, yeah.
Well, there you go. You have to have a party. Big potluck out at the Raleigh homestead now. You can bring the sourdough. You can make the lasagna.
At Cal's house. Party at Cal's.
At Cal's house.
Party
There
at
we
Cal's.
go. Good job. After the dodgeball game,
After the dodgeball.
if everybody's okay.
We can do that. That works.
I think we've started something. And on that, you've got homework.
We'll get to it.
Thank you, guys.
Of
Thank you,
course.
Shannon.